Alright, I am Tahuti Kepura Iteru. Now in this video right here, I want to deal with the ancient Kemetic science of time right here. I want to deal with this and how it relates now, or how it relates now to these two movies now, Predestination, right, and the movie Interstellar. Now I would recommend you watch those movies. You probably again, those movies are kind of old movies. You may have already seen those movies, but again, if you haven't, I would recommend you watch those movies first, then come back to this. Now this is gonna be deep. This is deep right here. So now that as it pertains to the movie Predestination, now that's probably that is that's the deepest movie I've ever seen. It's the deepest movie I've ever seen, right? Now again, I want to also talk about the movie Interstellar now, and how I'm even able to speak about these movies now. Again, these are old movies now, like I think like 2014 now, but I'm gonna speak about why I'm even able to speak about this now, how it relates to Interstellar and consciousness. This is gonna be deep. This is deep. I'm excited about this one right here. Alright. So now, the chronology with the movie now, as it pertains to Predestination, you got this girl Jane. Now this girl Jane, okay, we're gonna go for the chronology, we're gonna break it down. So the girl Jane now, right, she's basically an orphan, right? She's an orphan, and she was left at a doorstep, and she took her in, and basically they raised her up, this and that, and she was Jane, right? They raised her up, and she went to school. She wanted to go to this space program, do this space stuff, and she went to school and all these things of that nature. And then, if I can remember correctly now, so yeah, so she went to school on that, and she went to school and that, and then what happened was, she met this guy, right? She met this guy, and then the guy then left her, right? And then she had a baby, but she had a baby by the guy, but the guy left. Now, she then had to. Then she was in the hospital now with the baby, and then someone took the baby, right? Someone actually took the baby. You see what I'm saying? And then the doctor's there now. He's sitting down with her. You see what I'm saying? And it's basically telling to her, we got, basically sitting there, giving her, that the talk the doctor's giving her. She's looking at him. The doctor's looking at him, saying, we got a few issues here, And did someone ever tell you that you were different? She's like, no one told me I was different. Did someone ever tell you was different? And she's like, no. And then basically tells her that she had two organs. Basically, she had the male reproductive organ and the female reproductive organ. But the female reproductive organ was there and developed. But then when she had that baby, the female reproductive part got destroyed now, and they had to reconstruct it and create a male reproductive organ. So she had to essentially go for a sex change right here. She went for a sex change now, and then she became John. Now she was John. Now this is where it gets deep. This is where it gets deep. So now fast forward now, she's John. She's this man now. Now she's in this bar, right? She's in this bar now. And then she meets this, she meets this other guy now. She meets this other guy. And then his guy's having a conversation with her, talking to her. She's telling her story, how she was a baby, she was an orphan, telling her story, right? And then now the guy reveals to her that he is part of the people that she was trying to enlist in dealing with this space program. He was part of the same people. And now it gets deep. Now this part, it gets deep now. So what happens was, he then takes her now, and essentially he time travels. But he time travels, and he goes to her. Look, again, the whole movie is about this fissile bomber, right? There's this bomber now. He's blowing people up, he's just blowing up buildings and killing all these people, and they want to stop the bomber. So the whole movie, this Predestination, they're time travelers who go back in time and stop the crime before it happens. They stop the crime before it happens. So what happens was, he takes Jane now, and then he time travels now to the point, and he says to her, you're going to go to that point and find, because he thinks that the fissile bomber is the person who she met when she was Jane, because now she's John, saying the fissile bomber is the person who she met during that period, right? So she goes, we're going to go back to that time, and you're going to try and locate that guy. Now this is part where it got deep. So now she goes to find her younger self, right? And then she actually bumps into her, and this is where it gets deep, and it turns out that the actual man was herself, right? She was the man. You see what I'm saying? So she's the woman Jane, and the man that she met was that future version of herself, who now became the man based on the sex change, right? So she was the guy. You see what I'm saying? But she spoke about how the guy left her with the baby. So again, it's basically saying how she impregnated herself, right? She was androgynous now, and she impregnated herself. And this is deep right here. So she impregnated herself, right? But also, and then when it goes further into the movie now, what then happens, it shows you the guy now, the guy who took her and told her about the stuff, told her about the space program and all that stuff, and took her into the future, where she then met herself and impregnated herself. He was the guy who actually took the baby. So he took the baby. So it's showing how Jane was never born. She always existed. And in the movie, it kept talking about the snake that eats his tail, the snakes that eats his tail, which is God existing in the beginning and in the end. It never ends. So again, it's talking about how Jane always existed. She was always here. She impregnated herself. She gave birth to herself. Right? She gave birth to herself. She always existed. You see what I'm saying? So Jane always existed right here. Right? But now, here's where it gets even deeper. I didn't know the movie could get even deeper than this. So what happened was now is, because it also in the movie now, it got to a point where he then called, so again, he took the baby, did all that stuff, and then he calls her over. Right? And he says, yo, it's time for you to come over. And it clicked back in her mind now what had happened. And she's talking about how there was the guy that left her, because the guy left her, right? So when she was Jane, the guy left her. The guy that left her, impregnated her, left her. And she was mad at the guy. So the guy who left her ruined her life. And then when he called her over, at that moment, you realize that she was the guy and she ruined her own life. You see what I'm saying? She ruined her own life, or the future version of herself ruined her own life. The past version of herself. So John ruined Jane's life. Right? And that's what was so deep. So he took her over now, and she realized what he was doing. And she points the gun at him and goes, you sick fuck. She points the gun at him because she knew what he was doing. You see what I'm saying? She ruined her own life, right? But then he takes her then, and re-enlists her now, and takes her to the program. But now here's where it gets even deeper, right? So he takes her to the program now, and shows her the time travel, shows her order, shows her the guy, this and that, the time travel. And then what happened was this. The guy, the bartender, he then time jumps to the point where he meets the physics bomber. So he time jumps to a point where he meets the physics bomber, right? And then he tries to fight the physics bomber. He can't really see the physics bomber's face, doesn't really know who he is, and he tries to fight him, tries to shoot him, and then the physics bomber gets away. But then at that moment now is when Jane comes in, and then she fights the physics bomber. And then she burns her face, and that part of the movie now, she burns her face and then reconstruct the face of Jane, who then becomes the bartender. So the bartender is Jane, or is John, who burns her face, and it's reconstructed and it becomes him, right? It becomes him. So they're all the same person. You see what I'm saying? And it even gave hints in this in the movie, because in the bar scene, the guy had 2 cigarettes in his mouth. And I caught that part. I caught that part there. Said the guy had 2 cigarettes in his mouth, right? And then lighted both of them at the same time and took that one out and gave it to her, showing how they're the same person. You see what I'm saying? Showing how they're the same person. But then now, what happened was, the guy, the leader of the organization, came to the point where, in the movie, where he took the baby and said to him, have you done any illegal time jumps? So when he jumped to the point where Jane fought the physics bomber and burned her face, it was an illegal time jump. Now this part's deep. I want to break down why it was an illegal time jump. Because what happened was, that was the physics bomber, right? But if he killed the physics bomber, at that point, before Jane got a chance to try and fight the physics bomber and get to the bomb, because what happened was Jane was unable to defeat the physics bomber and get there in time to stop the bomb, so the bomb ended up blowing up in her face, and then they reconstructed his face to become him. But if he, the bartender, killed the physics bomber at that point, she would have been able to get to the bomb before it blew up, and it would never have burned her face up to become him in the first place. So if he killed himself then, before Jane missed her chance to burn her face to become him, he would have destroyed the universe at that point. That was deep. That's why it's an illegal time jump, because he would have destroyed the universe at that point. Because if he stopped the physics bomber then, Jane would have never have burned her face to become him. So he would never have existed. He would have destroyed the universe at that point. And that was deep. That was deep. You see what I'm saying? Now, here's where it gets even deeper. The movie just kept getting deeper, right? It just kept getting deeper. So now, fast forward to the end of the movie now. The guy gives him his kit, because they had this time kit, like a briefcase, right? They have this time kit, it's like a briefcase. So the guy gives him his kit now, and he basically takes it to the end of the movie now and says, okay, you're done now, all your tasks is done, all your task is done. So it takes it to the end of the movie now, and he wants to decommission, but he fails to decommission. His kit doesn't decommission, it fails as an error. So now he's looking for the fist bomb, and he's looking for the stuff. He's like, okay, where's this guy? And then he finally tracks down the fist bomber at this laundrette or something like that. Basically got all the washing machines and things like that. So he tracks him down there. You see what I'm saying? That's where he tracks him down. You see what I'm saying? And then he comes to find out that the fist bomber is himself. He was the fist bomber, but it was a later version of himself. And he's arguing with him now, saying, "You're the fist bomber." And he's like, but then he said, "I'm not gonna become you. I'm not gonna be. You're evil. You're killing people." And again, now this is how I want to break this down. This part's key, right? This part's key. So again, but the fist bomber is the reason why the organization was even set up in the first place. So the fist bomber was the reason why that timeline was even set up. So him being the fist bomber, again now, what is breaking down now, again, it shows how he is God. That's what God is. We're gonna go back to this. That's God. But again, it shows how he kept saying to him, "You're evil, you're evil." But again, they're the same person. So then what happens now? He then kills him now, and he takes his place. And he goes, "When you kill me, you're gonna become me." Because what he does, he kills him and replaces him in the time and space and becomes him. So even if he may not think it's evil, he becomes him. But I want to show you how the good and evil, the occult concept of good and evil is. They're the same person, right? But he thinks that him destroying all these bombs and him blowing up all this stuff, which he considered to be evil, he said it was good. But they're the same person. The only difference is they're from different universes, dealing with parallel universes. That's basically what it's really talking about. It's not really talking about time travel. It's really dealing with parallel universes. Really, that's what the movie is really talking about. Again, they use time travel as an underlying statement to throw you off, really. Again, we're going to deal with this time travel, we're going to deal with this, but, so again now, it's just the different time and space, showing how good and evil is just a misplacement in time and space. It's the same concept, it's just the way you look at it in what time and space it's situated in. So from his perspective, from his universe, he's the evil guy, but from his perspective and his universe, dealing with time and space now, he's doing good deeds. You see what I'm saying? So again now, it's a misplacement in time and space. But again, as I said before now, the fist bomber now, he was destroying things, but by him destroying things, he created that particular universe, that particular timeline in the first place. The whole movie was the fist bomber, but he was the fist bomber. So again, it shows how he is God, and what God is, the universe is a balancing of forces, and he is God. You see what I'm saying? It shows how he is God, and that's what God is. Destruction is good. Destruction is just as divine as creation. You need to destroy to rebuild. So even though he was destroying things, that destruction that he was doing was what created that timeline and created that particular universe. The whole movie was to stop him. So that whole universe, that whole timeline was centered around his destruction that he was doing. So the universe is a balancing of forces, and destruction is just as divine as creation. Both are necessary to create the balance in the universe. So again, that is the deepest movie I've ever seen. But again, I want to show you its Kemetic science though. Again, I want to show you this because again, we give you the Kemetic mythology. That's where it even comes from. Ra impregnates himself to create Shu and Tefnut. And Shu and Tefnut now create Geb and Nut. And Geb and Nut create Asar, Oset, Set, and Nebhet. And Asar and Oset create Heru, but Heru is Ra. So Ra is simply Heru, the sun disk on his head, because Heru is Ra. You see what I'm saying? Heru is Ra, so he's the bird now. Again, if the bird flies, now the flight of the bird to become Ra. You see what I'm saying? So he impregnates himself. You see what I'm saying? And so again, Asar gives birth to his own father, who is Ra. And there's another mythology now where Geb and Nut now, they lay this Bennu bird, and this Bennu bird is Ra. It's a form of Ra. So Geb gives birth to his own father. You see what I'm saying? So again, this is our mythology, this is all our stuff. This whole predestination, our shit. It's got nothing to do with time now. Again, we're dealing with parallel universes. And there's another movie, Parallels. That's that movie explains this parallel universe, how it works. And even saying the movie, this ain't time travel. This is parallel universes, parallel worlds. That's what we're dealing with here. You see what I'm saying? Also, again, the movie, that's the deepest movie I've ever seen. You gotta check that movie out. Again. So now I want to do this movie Interstellar right here. So now I want to explain how I'm even able to even speak about these movies now. So now, if I'm not mistaken, the movie Interstellar now came out in 2014. You see what I'm saying? Quick. Okay. So again, the movie came out in 2014. But the reason why I'm able to speak about this now, I want to break this down. Because what's happening is that consciousness is interstellar. I want to break this down to you. So now the whole movie Interstellar, most of you seen this by now. Again, dealing with the movie now. Again, when you go for the movie now, I knew that movie was also deep. Again, what happened was he was the ghost. But I want to show you how this consciousness is interstellar. So the messages that the ghost was leaving, he was the one leaving the messages. So he was telling himself to stay. That was deep. He was telling himself to stay. The past version of himself telling himself to stay. You see what I'm saying? But then the deep part about it, I want to explain how the consciousness is interstellar. That's what interstellar is. It's consciousness. I want to explain how this works. So what happened was they wanted to lay the secrets down. He wanted to lay the secrets of this black hole. The black hole, he wanted to relay the secrets, but he was trapped in this fifth dimension. He was trapped in the fifth dimension, so he was trapped in this place in time and space. So he couldn't get out of there to tell his daughter, these are the secrets. So he had to encode the messages in such a way that the daughter could get it. But when she was young, all she could interpret was stay. It wasn't until she got older. Now we're dealing with some stuff. It wasn't until she got older that she had to come back to the house and realize he encoded the message into the watch. So it wasn't until she got older that she realized that she was able to interpret the messages. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I'm able to speak about these movies now, because the 2014-year-old Tahuti, or the Tahuti in 2014, you see what I'm saying, wouldn't have been able to get as much out of these movies now. Back then I wouldn't be able to get out of it now. So that's the interstellar consciousness that I'm able to now grow now and get more out of it now than I would have back then. So it makes more sense that I watched it now than watched it back then to get more out of it. So that's the interstellar consciousness. You see what I'm saying? That's the interstellar. You see? Because and it pertains to age now. Age is not the physical body, but age is your level of understanding. That's what age is. Age is not the physical body, but it's a level of understanding. I want to break this down to you. Right? So now, how it relates to us is this. Now, Bobby Hemmett would often talk about these great old ones, and he would often break down how, based on the reincarnation now, the great old ones set up the reincarnation to be able to, and your consciousness is like a time capsule, right? So you being awoken now is a time capsule that was set based on the reincarnation. So the great old ones will plan the reincarnation in such a way that they reincarnate now and regain their consciousness now for the time we're in right now. So your consciousness is a time capsule that you set, so that the old version of you preset to wake up now. You are the greater one. You are the ancient one that has returned. So that's the interstellar part of it, right? But it goes even deeper. Again, this is all Kemetic science. This is all Kemetic science. This whole interstellar predestination. This is all our sciences, right? And again, this goes back to why we even wrote knowledge on the walls in the first place, because we know now. And how we know they wrote on the walls, you know what I'm saying? Because we know that they were picking and choosing. They didn't write everything on the walls. The Egyptians had knowledge of alchemy, but yet it's not on the walls. So they were picking and choosing what they wanted to pull up there. And they did it for a reason. But again, now the way you interpret it now, they wrote it on the walls. So the past version of the Egyptians wrote the knowledge on the walls for the future versions of themselves, which is us. We are the future versions of those peoples now, and we wrote it on the walls for ourselves as a predestination now, as a time capsule now. You see, so the consciousness is interstellar. So we wrote it on the walls. The past version of ourselves wrote it on the walls for the future version of ourselves, which is us. Now that is deep. You see what I'm saying? That's what that was for. So we are the living, breathing. This is all our sciences. We are the living, breathing. You see what I'm saying? Interstellar consciousness. That's what we are. You see what I'm saying? We are the definition of this stuff. Interstellar consciousness. This is what it is. And it's predestination. Again, it's all our stuff. You see what I'm saying? So we were masters of this. We were masters of time. And it's got nothing to do with time as far as time travel, but parallel universes. To plan it in such a way that it comes in at the time it's necessary. You see what I'm saying? So it transcends time and space, this consciousness and these memories. That's what the Tantra really is. These consciousness and memories, what transcends time and space, and how you're even able to set things in motion thousands of years in advance for your future self to get it and wake himself up today. We are the ones that were there before. We are those ones that did all that reincarnate. We are the ones. You see what I'm saying? We are the ones, and that is deep. So again, that movie Predestination, again, it's the deepest movie I've ever seen. Period. The deepest movie I've ever seen. But what makes it so deep is that this is our stuff. This is all our sciences, and we knew this. And what makes it so deep, because I'm living it now. I'm living this interstellar. You see what I'm saying? This predestination. I'm living it. In the sense that a few years ago, if I watched these movies back then, I wouldn't even be able to extract the type of consciousness and knowledge from it now that I'm able to extract now back then. So it made sense that it will come into my life and watching it now. The synchronicity to watch it now. So that's deep. So again, it's a quick video right here, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the deepest movie I've ever seen. Gotta watch that movie. Gotta study that Predestination. Again, deepest movie I've ever seen. So again, just a quick video. So again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you took some good information. Alright, people. Thanks for watching.